additionally, about 2 years ago, and this is one of the things I've talked about too as well, but if you're new to the class, this might be something that's a little new, is that there are forces that are not for pro-ascension, let's say. And in working with this particular timeline, we've got a whole amalgamation of beings, human and non-human, that are working towards the ascension cycle in different ways. And this is why it's so important to understand how to empower yourself and to be more aware of what's happening on the planet and planetary agendas, so that again you can make a choice from an informed state and to navigate yourself from a point of no fear. Because again, remember, the manipulation and the trickery and the control comes from the perception of fear. And so the ego has been manipulated, and our instinctual bodies of our second chakra, our addictive bodies, have been manipulated to be in fear to maintain a certain kind of suppression in human consciousness. So a very big part of our evolution is getting beyond our fear, is facing it and recognizing truly what it is in terms of a disempowering force and a controlling force that suppresses our consciousness in our own awareness as our true, eternal, God-being self. And this is what we're here to embody, is our self-sovereign God power as beings. So fear is something that is really the antithesis to that. And so when you find yourself being brought into fear, being brought into emotional dramas, you need to again see it for what it is. That this is something that is as well to bring you into a lower or suppressed state of consciousness. So in terms of the viral patterning, in 2004 it was brought to my attention that some, let's say, some races that are not in service to the human ascension actually got a hold of the grids and placed a tremendous amount of retrovirus into the planetary fields. And this was meant as a disturbing thing. It certainly wasn't for, like as I said, viruses used for burning out old dysfunctional patterns in our DNA, and a lot of us as path cutters are doing that particular work. Well, 2004, some particular races actually implanted huge amounts of retrovirus in the fields of the planetary grids, planetary fields. So at that time, around 2004, many of the genetic path cutter family, indigo family, took on additional, let's say, contract or agreement to facilitate clearing of that virus. And what was described to me is that because the indigo and star races, the beings that are embodied in, let's say, the indigo template, which I've described as the 12-strand DNA particular template body, those particular genetic qualities have an easier ability to transmute and dissipate the relative strain of these particular virus patterns. So I'll tell you my own particular story, how I actually found out about this, is that in 2004, I was living and still out in the Malibu area, and I was doing a lot of clearing. I was working on my heart chakra, and I woke up in the middle of the night like sweating, like glandular fever, and I just thought, oh, it's another Kundalini thing, And I woke up in the morning covered with shingles. And this was really unusual for me because I am, very aware of my health, and I'm very aware of taking care of myself. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Oh my gosh, And at first I thought it was an allergy. I didn't know what it was. I also have this device called a quantum, so luckily I was able to scan myself and see virus everywhere. It showed me herpes zoster shingles all over my body. So this was very unusual, especially because I also thought this particular ailment was generally something that somebody's biologically older they get shingles. So I'm also noticing, because the frequencies are accelerating, you may start to see disease patterns appearing in much younger people biologically. Things such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, these imbalances were normally being, it was more accepted, like at 70 or 80, where, you're an Alzheimer's patient at 80, we kind of accepted that socially. While they're aging, they're getting older. Now we're starting to see it in much younger biological beings, and I believe this is a large part to do with it. The acceleration of the frequencies the acceleration of our genetic path cutting is creating, again, some really unique and different emanations and some challenges for us. So, and again, I do want to preface this by saying we have everything we need. We have everything we need. We just need to have a framework because we don't normally think of virus as a spiritual tool. You know, you think virus, you're like, what is that? You know? So again, this is another way that as the human species is working with viral patterns is a part of evolution and is a part of the Ascension plan. So again, the masters know this, we have all the help that we need, but again, we need to be aware of it. So again, in 2004 when this happened to me, I went and I asked them, I said, what is this? And they described to me, this was in November of 2004, they said that a huge influx of retrovirus was placed in the grids around Los Angeles. It actually started, I'm not sure if they did it on any other planes of the planet, but you know, where I was demographically, the whole like Long Beach to Malibu area, this whole area was given a big old shot of retrovirus. And they said that a lot of the indigo and star family that live in that demographic took on a percentage of that viral pattern to help dissolute, I guess, to make the strain not as intense, because what they said is that if this had been received by a third dimensional person, it would have just, they would not have been able to sustain it, let's just put it that way. So many of us took it on because we had a stronger gene pool or gene code that we could actually transmute this particular viral strain so that when it was released into the public, it was a lot less potent, let's say. So when they told me this, I have to admit, it took me a little while to kind of process that because it sounded so Messiah complex to me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You know, really? You know, and then what did happen, and what generally does happen in my experience, is that I have something happen to me, and then all my family come in and verify it for me. So I go, oh my God. And so I started to see now, in the next 3 months, all of my clients had viral pattern or shingles. And they showed up, and not only the client, but their pets. Dogs were dying of mystery virus around November of 2004. There was like, I remember somebody called me and said, did you see the news? There's this mystery virus attacking dogs, and a bunch of dogs have just like died for no apparent reason. So remember, our pets, our domestic animals as well, they help us clear. And so my dog, who was with me at that time as well, also became really sick within 2 weeks. And I scanned him and was able to see a bunch of virus in him, and luckily I had some tools and he came out of it just fine. But it was really fascinating to see as well what our animals do for us, and that they too are taking on a lot of the planetary evolution as placement holders. It's really amazing. So again, that was in 2004, and on and off, what I've noticed is that it seems to have dissipated. We still have relationship with virus. There's a lot of viral patterning going on, but I have included my antiviral protocol in here. And again, I do want to preface this by saying, of course, this is not a substitute for medical advice. This is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm doing is I'm giving you some tools to work with and things that I have found that have been extremely helpful when there are times that your body is doing some path cutting work. You can support it in different ways and help your healing process so much easier. So as an example, I had shingles and it was gone in 4 days by using my antiviral protocol. Now somebody that didn't have that, it might have taken 2 weeks, 4 weeks, who knows. I knew people that had it for a very long time, you know, and probably because they were in fear about it as well, because you are a little freaked out when your body starts doing things that it never did before and doesn't seem to make any sense to you as to why it's happening.